we're taking the process of asking for help and giving help out of messaging and collaboration platforms and putting in its own platform.
Building a corporate culture is a complex task. You may want to create an environment in which your employees are generous, helpful, and supportive. But how do you exactly go about doing it? Larry Freed of Give and Take Incorporated believes he has an answer in a product called Givitas, a social platform that encourages generalized reciprocity, a way of giving without direct expectation of receiving. In this episode of UpTech Report, Larry tells us how this platform is helping companies improve efficiency, enhance workplace satisfaction, and increase ROI. Larry, I'm excited to be able to chat with you today, learn more about Give and Take and your product Givitas. Help me understand in 5 seconds, if you had to describe Give and Take and the concept of your product, what would you say in 5 seconds?
5 seconds, that's tough. We help organizations collaborate and create a culture of generosity to improve knowledge sharing.
Love it. A collaborative opportunity for generosity. What year did this really kick off?
Really kicked off in 2017. Part of that, it was an effort by Adam Grant, a professor at Wharton, and Dr. Wayne Baker, a professor at Michigan, and Cheryl Baker, a social scientist, and really to build on the ideas of generalized reciprocity. So when we think of reciprocity, we often think of you do something for me, I'll do something for you. Generalized reciprocity is I'm going to do something for you and somebody else down the road might do something for me. So to take those concepts, and there was an exercise that Wayne and Cheryl had developed 20 some years ago about how to teach people about generalized reciprocity and how to actually do an exercise to really they could experience it. It's called the Reciprocity Ring. And in like 2016, they decided that there needed to be a platform to take that and make it scalable across organizations. And we really brought a team together in 2017 to take it to market.
And Adam Grant wrote a book around Give and Take. And after that launch, is this where they kind of started to come together, bringing all the mentalities and opportunities to create this platform? Is that kind of correct?
Yeah. So Adam was a PhD student in Michigan, which is how him and Wayne got connected. Wayne was a professor there at the time. And that's when Wayne had developed the Reciprocity Ring. So that was a really foundational piece of Adam's maturing through the PhD program. And when he went off and left Michigan and went towards Wharton, he really took that and became a big fan of reciprocity exercises. And that was a big part of what I would say is the foundation of the Give and Take book. And
2017, and to really be able to be coming into fruition, where you came in part of this. You had led several different endeavors and organizations before this yourself, right?
Yeah. So I had been in the big company world early on in my career, and then in technology in the banking industry was as chief technology officer, what was called Bank One, which is now part of Chase. Then went to the business side of technology with a company called CompuWare, and then started a company with another professor at Michigan, Dr. Klaus Fresnel, that measured customer experience. So it was called 4C Results. And then after we sold that, took a couple of years, and then decided I still had some life left in me and would jump back in if I found the right thing. And I got introduced to Wayne and Adam and Cheryl and loved it. It was just a really exciting idea and something that I would have loved to have had at my disposal in building companies, and that it's really a powerful tool to help people not only improve knowledge sharing, but also to feel more engaged, and which is a big challenge in today's world.
Indeed. I think we can all appreciate the concept of generosity and a setting of generosity where people are giving it. But give me a simple analogy or an example of this in play, your product, your technology product and platform in play inside of an organization.
Yeah, so we work in large companies, we work in associations, we work in community groups, ecosystems, member-based groups, things like that. So a really diverse set of customers, which is fun, but it really comes down to a couple of use cases. And there's a lot of individual use cases. When you really boil it down, it's about someone needs help, information, advice, a referral. They need something and they don't know where to go. And so we describe it as a purpose-built platform where you create a safe place for people to ask for help, especially when they don't know who to ask. So that's one of the big drivers of it, right? So I got a question, I can call, if I know you have the right answer, I could call you, Alex, or text you, or IM you, or Slack you, or email you and say, hey, Alex, I need some help. But when I'm not sure who has the right answer, or I want a broader based opinion, what do I do? And having a platform that's purposely built for that lets us do some stuff that's really incredible. It starts with it being really easy and efficient. The second thing that we do is we also want to make it really easy to be a giver in 5 minutes a day. And so it's not about building a platform that lures you in with a message and you come in the platform and an hour later you're bouncing around and feeling like, where did all my time go? I haven't really done anything. It's in and out,
Like Facebook.
help, right? Yeah. I didn't want to name any names. Facebook's great and LinkedIn is great. They all serve a purpose. But their business model is keeping you on their platform.
Yeah.
And ours isn't focused like that. We develop these communities, and while we do have some free communities that people can join to experience it and a way of giving back to the community. I mean, with a name like Give and Take, we have to give back. But generally, the platforms that really is what drives our business is where someone, an organization, a company
installs it on their own company.
Yeah, and they're sponsoring it, and then they're inviting the people to it, and so they're sort of paying the freight, if you will. But it just the use case is really, I need something. How can I help? The other really interesting thing about it is that people want to help, and nobody really wants unsolicited help, right? Hey, Alex, let me tell you how to run this podcast. You don't want to hear that, right? None of us do. And so
the idea is somebody can post it, make the request, and then there's opportunities in the company to give back. It almost sounds like a company-specific Facebook group. Like, people love to join groups about a topic, and then they can post comments and thoughts around it, and they get lost on Facebook. But this is a company opportunity to bring opportunities. Is it kind of a posting mechanism where I can post it and there's certain categories, or is it something the company sets up, or is it just certain categories that you provide, or is it just general, no category?
It's general, but it's not, we think of it as different than posting, and this is sort of the challenge with social networks. Posting, more often than not, is not me asking for help. It's me telling you what you don't want to hear, whether it's a political opinion, whether it's a personal opinion, whatever it is, right? It gives people a great sandbox for sharing their life, and there's a value to that. We're looking at it as very purpose-built. It's like, when you need something, when you have a question, that's where you go there. So it's much more structured, but in turn, it's much more productive. It's much more generous. Across all of our communities, we've never seen anything inappropriate or nasty. We monitor it, but we've never seen it. And at first, we were a little surprised, right? But then we started digging into it, and when you think about it, it's not a place for me to go and boast or brag or say you're doing things wrong. It's a place for me to say, hey, I need some help and some information.
Overall, how many different clients and end consumers are then using this platform on a monthly basis, or being able to?
Yeah, so we have probably 70 plus communities up and running now. And what's interesting is, the pace of that growth is quickening, which is great. A little bit fueled, people are scrambling right now because of the current environment. And how can I keep my employees connected that are all sitting at home? How can I keep my students connected that are all, doing remote learning? How can I keep my association together and connected when there's no meetings, right? And are they going to stay members and things like that? So we've had some people in the pipeline that have all of a sudden accelerated their path, which is great. But it's and within that, we'll have thousands of users a day on the platform. But it's interesting, so we don't really, if you look at the other networks and the numbers they report out, right? And we're a private company, an earlier company, we don't have to report anything out. But they talk about how many times a day you come, how often, how long you're on the platform. We to some extent are almost counter to that. So one of the key things that we do is, because it's a structured conversation, we send you a summary of the new things that are there that need help. And people often look at that and say, I can't help today, and they're done, right?
Tell me though, digging into the technology, can you share more about how it's different and how it works comparative to, like, well, why don't I just use like a Slack channel? Like, we have different Slack channels, or a Facebook group for our business, or other things. Tell me more about your technology and the power and difference of it.
Yeah, that's a great question. Technology generally works better when it's very focused on something. Technology solutions, whether they be a platform or a community or whatever, and they're trying to do all things to all people, generally end up not doing a great job, right? So there's a trade-off there, right? It's great that you can do a lot of things in LinkedIn and Facebook, but it all gets sort of watered down after a while because there's too many things you can do. Good for the business model maybe, but as a consumer, it starts to get a lot noisier. The biggest difference between when we think of those sort of public ones versus more community-based or private is that it's a manageable number of people. So often those get really, really noisy, right? And it's hard to weed out the noise because for advertising reasons, they're inserting things in that maybe even aren't relevant or they try to be relevant, but different. So that's one aspect. Another big difference is that it's so purpose-built, it makes it really efficient. And so Slack, I think, is a great tool. We actually use Slack at our company. It's great for small teams. It has a tendency to get really noisy with large groups. I remember probably about 18 months ago now, they had some performance problems, and the reaction in the Twitter sphere and on, and other public networks was really interesting and tongue in cheek, but was like, Slack, thank you for going down today. I actually got some work done. And it's not negative to Slack. Slack is a great instant messaging platform, and it's instant messaging on steroids, right? So it's more powerful than, what was called AOL's instant messenger, right? Now I'm showing my age. I remember using that,
oh, yeah.
in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And it's better than that. It's more powerful. There's lots more capabilities, but it's still ultimately, it works well when it's a smallish team and when you're sitting at your desk all day, right? And so you're looking at these messages as they come up and you get interrupted for a split second and you go away. People say it solves the email problem. It shifts the problem.
How does the platform work that it makes it easy for people to give? Do they get an email notification of all their top questions that have been asked that they then can jump into the platform? Because people don't really want another platform to have to log into.
Exactly.
Check. So
yeah.
how have you solved that issue that makes it easy for people to want to give as well as ask?
Yeah, we set a schedule for each community, and keep in mind that communities are not endless in size. I would say they generally run between 200 people on the low end to no more than 10,000 on the high end, right? And so when it's predicated on that you're gonna make requests. People are gonna make requests. I get a digest. We call it a digest. I can set my own schedule, but typically it's every day, up to every day. If there's nothing new, no new request that day, and in a group of 300-400, not every day is there going to be a request, then you don't get a digest, right? So I'm not wasting my time. But the days that I do, I get a very short summary of it and a link that I can click on that link and go right to where I need to be to offer that help. So it literally is a 2-minute exercise, right?
General pricing options then for organizations within those sizes?
Yeah, it's tiered based on the sort of target population, and we, large companies will do multiple implementations. So as an example, they may do it by division. Another interesting use case is employee resource groups is something that's a lot more prevalent across companies these days. And it's you can bring multiple employee resource groups together in a Givitas community. They still have their unique employee resource groups, but in terms of collaborating, when they have a lot of the problems groups face are similar to other groups, right? So they can collaborate across and start to build some camaraderie and engagement across that.
I like the vision. Tell me then a little bit further out, where do you see give and taking in 5 years from now?
5 years in today's world is a long time. But we would expect that we'll obviously continue on the path that we're going. I don't think that we will ever try to be all things to all people. Along the way, people say, why don't you have direct messaging? Well, because that goes counter to the idea of building trust, to building a cycle of generosity. And the other thing, I've always been a believer in technology, is that if there's other people that are solving the problem well, let that be. Go solve a different problem, right? And so we're not trying to change email. There are challenges with everything, but email works pretty well when you think about it. Slack works well, right? So we're not trying to change that. We're trying to complement those. Much like you take accounting out of Excel spreadsheets and put it into an accounting system, we're taking the process of asking for help and giving help out of messaging and collaboration platforms and putting it in its own platform, right? And so I would expect us to continue to broaden the product in terms of capability and functionality, but it's going to stay really, really focused on that aspect of giving help and giving and getting help.
Where can people go to learn more? What's a good first step they can take?
So giveandtakeinc.com or givitas.com will get you basically to the same place, to our website. There's a lot of information there. There is on there, you'll see under resources, there's actually some free communities that we've created to help people understand how this works, but also to provide value to them. So as an example, we have a group of HR professionals. We have and these are all free and anybody can join. A group of HR professionals, a group of people analytics professionals. We just launched a few new ones. We launched one for nonprofit leaders and one for association leaders. They're all going to go through a really difficult time right now, and they need to collaborate and get ideas and see what other people are doing to deal with these challenges. We've got a few more on there, and we periodically will add stuff to there. So that's a great way for someone who's interested to check it out and actually participate. We've seen some incredible things happen. People making great connections, people getting jobs, people getting feedback on a pitch deck, people finding, filling positions, people understanding what an approach to a problem is. Those things get solved all the time. Watching this HR group work together is incredible. The amount of information they're sharing from company to company and saving everybody time, and everybody's getting better because of it. And that's really the goal. As you move everybody forward, the community moves forward as well.
Be sure to check out part 2 of our conversation with Larry, in which he discusses some of the methods he used to ascertain the well-being of a workforce and how innovation is not merely a matter of looking forward, but also analyzing the present.